Recording has started today. So to start off this meeting, I am going to read Circle's land acknowledgement. So Circle works throughout the Yuba River watershed on the ancestral and traditional homelands of the Nisenan tribe and includes shared boundaries with the Mountain Maidu, Concow, and Washoe peoples. These tribes have lived here for millennia and live here still. We acknowledge and mourn the painful history of genocide and the devastation of lands and waters irreversibly altered. We are grateful for opportunities to partner with the tribes to create a shared vision and rebalance our relationship to this place. Okay, great. I am going to thank you. And I think we'll start off online with a round of intros. So Amanda, would you mind introducing yourself and your organization and also provide any announcements or updates that you would like the network to hear?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Awesome. I'm Amanda Malici. I am the Outreach and Capacity Building Associate for the Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative. And I'm doing a presentation today, which will include plenty of announcements, so I'll save it for then. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
No problem. Carmen, you have your hand raised. Can I help you? All right. Carmen, would you like to introduce yourself?
She's not
might not be able to hear us. Okay, we'll just move on to Carrie then.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. All right. Thanks. I'm Carrie Rennie, and I'm here wearing a couple of different hats. One is for the Yuba Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, and the other is a group called Forest Business Alliance, and we are funded by a CAL FIRE Business and Workforce Development Grant. And I wanted to share with you, and I'll put it in the chat, that the Business and Workforce Development Grant Program is accepting applications right now. They have 20 million available with a deadline on March 8th. And they're hosting a workshop about the grant next Tuesday. And the Business and Workforce Development Forest Business Alliance team will do a more interactive webinar the following day on February 7th. And we're sharing the registration right now in case anyone's interested in that grant, either yourself or just to share with others. So I'll pop the information about that in the chat. I'm sad not to be there in person, but it's nice to see you all on screen.
Nice to see you again, Carrie. All right, can we move on to maybe Ray?
Hi, I'm Ray Dunstan. I'm with Amanda Malici that also works for TCSI. I'm the project manager and GIS associate, and I just started this September, so I'm relatively new. Also to California as well. If you hear Southern tank like thing, that's Southern. Updates, Amanda's gonna probably talk about it a lot, but then we also have the project tracker. I'm currently developing a project tracker with ESA, which I'm going to speak more on the next quarterly meeting with a beta test so I can get people's opinions and things like that. But we are just now starting development and configuration of this project tracker. So that's my big update.
Thank you. Julie?
Hi there, I'm Julie Fair. I'm with American Rivers, and I'm the program director for our Headwaters Conservation Program. We have a local office in Nevada City, but I'm located in North Lake Tahoe, and I am the project manager for a project located just outside of Nevada City along the South Yuba River called the Hoyt-Pardon Fuel Reduction and Prescribed Fire Project, and it's been kind of in a a lull for the last almost year, but we finally got our grant agreement executed with SNC. So we're going to be ramping up going into implementation on that project, which will treat about 570 acres along the South Yuba on private land. So that's kind of my nexus for getting in with this group and making sure we're all coordinating.
Fantastic. Awesome. And Maya and Carson?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you. My name is Maya Greenwood, and I also work with American Rivers with Julie. I work on our Headwaters Conservation Program as well, and I manage our program of work in Northern Sierra. So I work in Lassen and El Dorado, and I'm joining today because I'm hoping to just learn a little bit about coalition building and just this network in this group, because we have some larger scale forest related collaboratives up north, and I'm hoping to take some lessons learned from this group and export it to a couple of other areas. So nice to see you all, and thanks for having me. And Carson.
Hey everybody, Carson Clark with the National Forest Foundation. We're one of the implementation partners with the North Yuba Forest Partnership, assisting the Tahoe National Forest with some large-scale fuel reduction, commercial thinning, forest health, restoration projects all along the 49 corridor and in the Yuba River Ranger District. Just looking to collect some information from the collaborative here and just align with everybody in our future projects.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And we have some other people still online, such as Dwayne. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm live. Dwayne with Nevada City. I just transitioned after a couple of years with air quality management and have been past city council mayor in Nevada City, and now I'm with Fire Safe Council. I just saw it pop up today on my calendar and wanted to join in and just listen and learn about this organization and this group of people and see how we can be a benefit long term. So I've only been here since December, so I'm also fairly new, but we're trying to reconnect with all the different organizations regarding forest health, fire safety, and prevention. So I'm just here to listen. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. And then we have Thomas Parrick.
Morning, everybody. My name's Tom, please. Tom Parrick. I am the Yuba River District Ranger on the Tahoe National Forest. I'm very excited to hear all the projects that are going on around the Yuba district, and I'll be happy to give any updates if people have questions. I do know that we're burning today, which makes me happy. So.
Cool. All right. And Rosie?
Hi all, Rosie Gonzalez, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service based out of Auburn, California. Sorry, I've been on calls that are multiple states, so it kind of felt silly when I realized we're all in the same state. But I am the partners biologist for part of the Sierra, and we work with private lands habitat restoration, and so just listening in to see how we can all collaborate. Thank you.
All right. I think last up is Amy and Corey before we move to the in-person.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Amy Irani, Environmental Health Director for the County of Nevada. Just here to listen in on all of the exciting projects and to just be here if you have any questions from an environmental health standpoint. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. And Corey.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, my camera doesn't work. I'm Corey Champ. I work at Yuba College. I teach geology there, so I'm part of the volunteer in support of Carmen and to answer any additional questions or give any additional information.
Great, thank you. All right. Can we start with you?
Evan Smith. I'm forester for the Natural Resources Conservation Service in Grass Valley. I help private landowners with conservation plans and implement forest treatments on their land.
Awesome.
So my name is Dio Camacho. I work with USDA and RCS, Evan. I've been working in the Yuba city office, and now this year, basically December, sorry, in Grass Valley. So basically, it's just helping landowners conservation and practices, is forestry, cropland, land.
I'm Annie Kent. I'm here at Circle. I'm the Headwaters Science Program Manager. I'm here mostly to take notes and to get to know you all. Yeah. I'm Melissa Grimm. I'm with American Rivers. I'm the River Assessment and Restoration Assistant. I'll be helping Julie with Hoyt Purdon kind of background outreach stuff.
Nice. I'm Alex Keeble-Toll. I'm a senior analyst in the Nevada County Office of Emergency Services.
I'm Alessandra Zambrano. I'm the County Wildfire Coordinator in Nevada County Office of Emergency Services.
I'm Sid Godfrey. I'm a project manager at the Sierra Fund. Currently, we're working in the North Yuba watershed to identify high priority abandoned hydraulic mine sites that need fuels reductions that are getting flagged and avoided by other projects. So we're looking for partners in that to identify those sites, and then we're finding a pathway to treat those sites through the CEQA and cultural assessments. Addition to that, we are working on 2 implementation sites in that area, Grizzly Creek Diggins and the Tippecanoe Diggins. So we'll be working with biochar to do some erosion control and soil rebuilding at those sites, and then also implementing some process-based restoration techniques to limit erosion on those sites, as well as fuel reduction there too. Thanks.
My name is Joe King. Work for Sierra Pacific Industries as the district manager for our Tahoe district. Out of our office in Grass Valley. We manage about 160,000 acres in Sierra, Nevada, Yuba, and Placer counties. And so we're checkerboarded with a lot of the Tahoe National Forest. Been working more on collaborative fuel reduction projects, both with the Tahoe National Forest and also with some of the smaller groups like Yuba Water Agency, stuff like that.
My name is Landon Hack. I am in CAL FIRE North Division Operations for the Nevada Yuba Placer Unit.
Great, awesome. And okay, cool. So thank you all for the introductions and for some updates as well. Let me think here. So we are moving a little ahead of schedule, which I think is really good. And we can actually get started with Amanda's presentation. So Amanda and Ray are both working on some of the Tahoe Central Sierra initiatives, like new projects. And so Amanda here is going to do a presentation on TCSI's upcoming collaborative convening, as well as some additional background on TCSI. All right, Amanda, are you ready to take the floor?
Yes, let me just make sure everything works here. Okay, is that open up for you guys? The slides?
Yes, you can see the slides here.
Okay, awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much, Anne-Marie, and thanks everyone for letting me take a little bit of your time today here at the Yuba Forest Network meeting. My name is Amanda Malici, and I'm the Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative Outreach and Capacity Building Associate. My position is created in partnership with the Great Basin Institute, but I work fully with and on Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative. So like Anne-Marie mentioned, I'm here to talk a little bit about TCSI and provide a little background and context, and then dive into some of our current priorities. But before I start, I just wanted to get a little bit of a feel for the room in regard to who knows what TCSI is. So if you guys wouldn't mind, raising your hand, and if you're here virtually, you can just raise your physical hand and you don't have to do the hand raise button. But can you raise your hand if you've never heard of TCSI or you're not really sure what it is? Okay, cool, good to know. That's good, that's great, that's why I'm here. And then what about if you've heard of TCSI, you've heard the name, you've maybe heard a couple things, but you're not completely clear on what it is or what it does? Awesome, cool. Okay, and then lastly, you've heard of TCSI, you feel pretty confident you know what it is, and you feel pretty clear you kind of know what it does. Okay, yeah, cool. Awesome, thanks. Great, so I'll go ahead and dive right in. So Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative, TCSI, it's essentially a partnership advancing restoration efforts to 2.4 million acres of Sierra Nevada forested watersheds. So you can see a little map here on the right. It's composed of 57% national forest land. So that includes the entire Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit and a majority, but not all, of the El Dorado and Tahoe National Forests. And the boundaries were delineated by partners using watershed boundaries. So that's why it doesn't include necessarily all of the El Dorado and the Tahoe. And that's kind of why it has this like little bit of a jagged shape, because it was made using like actual watershed boundaries. So in 2017, federal, state, and nonprofit partners, the current partners, which you can see here, the logos at the bottom, they came together and they formalized an MOU for this partnership, TCSI, to try to better address pressing issues like tree mortality, increased wildfire intensity, and what felt like a lack of biomass utilization opportunities in the region. So the partnership focuses on developing and demonstrating innovative planning, investment, and management tools across land ownerships. And it aims to tackle issues that are maybe difficult to address by place-based collaboratives and try to like leverage that economy of scale to develop solutions that can be applicable to both the local level, but all the way up to the regional and even the state level. So in the last decade, there's been a ton of successful restoration work that has occurred at the project level and by collaboratives and partnerships in the region. However, recent science has shown that project level collaboration alone can't solve the certain challenges that we're grappling with, and that we want to start approaching these challenges from a large landscape scale. So I'll note that TCSI as an entity does not plan or implement projects on the ground. TCSI partners implement projects themselves, but TCSI rather serves as an avenue to convene, collaborate, and incubate new science and new approaches to restoration and forest management. So a huge cornerstone of TCSI is its scientific foundation, and that's kind of what TCSI is built off of. So this includes the Framework for Resilience, which you've maybe heard of, the landscape assessments for current and future conditions for the region, and a blueprint decision support and online mapping tool. And I'll just really quickly go through each of these just to kind of provide some context on kind of what TCSI was built off of. This is the Framework for Resilience. The framework identifies what we want to see in the landscape. It introduces this concept of resilience for TCSI, and it defines using science what a resilience landscape looks like, and identifies both social and ecological values that make up a resilient landscape. So these values, which you can see here, are described by 10 pillars that represent desired outcomes of landscape resilience. And each of the pillars provides metrics for assessing landscape conditions and measuring how projects and actions are meeting resilience objectives. And these pillars and metrics can help and have helped users and groups plan, implement, monitor restoration projects, as well as document actual like measurable progress towards local, regional, and even statewide goals. So I will note the pillars of resilience are now being used by the California Wildfire and Forest Resilience Task Force at the state level, and they helped build the Sierra Nevada Regional Resource Kit, and have also been incorporated into some other tools like the state's upcoming Planscape Decision Support tool. So following the framework are landscape assessments. So the assessments tell us what we have and let us know how far the landscape is from resilience. So this includes two pieces. The first part measures current conditions on the landscape organized by the pillars. And the second part models future conditions through 2100 using different management scenarios and climate change models to project in the future what the landscape might look like under different sort of management scenarios. And the next piece and the last piece I'll talk about in regard to the scientific foundation is the blueprint for resilience. So it kind of uses both the framework and the pillars and also the landscape assessments to create a decision support tool for the TCSI landscape that identifies specific opportunities for restoration that will have the greatest benefit across the landscape according to desired outcomes. It's an online mapping tool on TCSI's website that anyone can use, and there's a bunch of interactive features and data on there as well. And one last thing I'll mention, and I can actually, I'll put a link to this in the chat at some point, is TCSI just did a webinar series in November that goes really into detail about all of these different scientific tools, and they're on our YouTube and website. So if you really want to dive in, you can watch those webinars. They're each like an hour each. Okay, so we have all this science, you know, the science has been done, and obviously there's more on the way, but with all the science, kind of, what do we do with it? You know, what are our goals? How do we use the science? And so to start to answer those questions, TCSI last year completed a 10-year regional plan, which charts the path forward and guides the partnership to identify goals and strategies for actually improving social and ecological resilience in the region. And so these are kind of just really briefly summarized the 6 strategies that are listed in the regional plan. And I'm going to kind of go through a couple of them individually that have shaped our current priorities. So, but before I do that, I want to share some of the goals that were outlined in the regional plan as well. So with those strategies, TCSI has identified goals that the regional plan sets partners on a path to bring 50% of the landscape into resilient conditions by 2043, 90% of the WUI defense zone into desired conditions by 2033, 50% of the WUI threat zone into desired conditions by 2033, and 60,000 acres treated per year by 2028. And so these numbers they're not random, they're all derived from the science and the landscape assessments, and kind of, you know, using all of their analysis, these are the numbers that, you know, partners have identified are what can help bring the landscape into resiliency and what's kind of feasible. Okay, so I wanted to highlight a couple of TCSI strategies that have shaped our current priorities kind of for the 2023 into 2024 year. So first, like Ray mentioned, TCSI is developing a 10-year project portfolio, which we're now calling the Tahoe Central Sierra Project Tracker. And essentially, the project tracker, which is in development right now, will spatially demonstrate a list of current planned and forecasted projects across all land ownerships over the next 10 years in the TCSI region. So the tracker will communicate current planned forecasted projects and will provide information on project timelines, treatment types, acreage amounts, and funding needs. It will serve as a free data management and coordination tool for land managers and as a hub for policymakers and funders to really go in and understand what's needed, you know, what funding, what policy changes are needed to advance forest resilience work in the region. So the project tracker is set to release mid-summer or late summer of this year, and you're all going to hear a lot more about it in May, where my colleague Ray, who's on the call today, she's TCSI's Data Management Association or associate, she'll present. But in the meantime, Ray and I have been working really hard and meeting with a ton of different organizations, entities, and tribes to understand where their data is already, so we're not duplicating data asks, and to also understand how TCSI's tracker is going to be different from the many trackers already out there. So Ray's been collecting current and forecasted project data And she's also forming a focus group that's going to help shape how the tracker is formed, and will give folks an opportunity to discuss what will make the tracker more useful to them as users. So I definitely recommend reaching out to Ray if that's something that you're interested in participating in. Okay, so a couple other strategies from the regional plan that I wanted to highlight really quick. TCSI is prioritizing a work group to diversify funding streams in the region beyond federal and state dollars. So in the past, TCSI was really successful with funding and got $32 million of climate, what's the acronym? California Climate Investment Grants from CAL FIRE that funded a bunch of planning and project implementation projects throughout the landscape. But partners really want to start prioritizing ways to diversify funding and kind of model and look at what other collaboratives are doing and how they're kind of strategizing for long-term funding. Another priority that TCSI has this year is a work group to enable forest infrastructure and identify interventions that TCSI could make to advance biomass utilization in the region. So this work group just formed, and they're working on making sure they're in alignment with, the other work groups in the region who are also doing the same thing. But I'm not going to dive into these priorities right now, as they're kind of actively being strategized and they're in their very early stages. But I did want to highlight that these are some of the things that TCSI is working on. So the last priority that I wanted to touch on before I kind of shift gears here is TCSI's all lands approach. So I will say in the past, TCSI has heavily focused on publicly owned lands, particularly the Forest Service, but partners recognize that private lands and other land ownerships are such a key piece in achieving forest landscape resilience. I mean, they make up almost half of the TCSI landscape. And so that's why I came on in May of last year. So I've been on for about, I guess that's 8 or 9 months at this point. And I've been engaging directly with organizations, agencies, and tribes that steward land in the region to try to incorporate more local place-based work into the landscape scale goals and strategies that TCSI has set out. And thus trying to bring the entire landscape into a resilient state and incorporate more of that all lands approach. So that's involved, like I said, meeting directly with folks, learning about their priorities, learning about the work that they're doing, and trying to learn more about individual capacity needs among certain organizations and tribes and gain an understanding of the broader regional capacity gaps, to identify where TCSI as this regional entity can elevate those needs and provide value at a local level. As part of that effort, I wanted to put it all on your radar that TCSI is conducting a regional capacity assessment / survey to understand and articulate the current capacities, needs, and future interests of organizations and tribes that participate in fire resilience and/or forest management work in the TCSI landscape, or that would like to participate in fire resilience and/or forest management work. Responses we're hoping can help bring necessary funding to the region, help elevate those local needs, and also help TCSI develop processes that can increase capacity targeted to local needs. So I know surveys, no one likes surveys. I don't love surveys, but they are an easy and efficient way to gather empirical data for this first step of a capacity assessment. So to make it more fun for folks, we are raffling ski lift tickets. So if you complete the survey before February 16th, you'll be entered into a raffle to win 2 free ski lift tickets. And the available prizes that we have include 4 Boreal Mountain tickets, which are up by Donner Summit, and then 2 Palisades Tahoe tickets. And it is snowing right now here in Tahoe, so it's a good time to be thinking about that. And I'll also say this survey isn't going out to a ton of entities. It is just focused in the TCSI region, and so your odds of winning are pretty good. So I do have a QR code up here, and I'll certainly post the survey link in the chat, and I can work with Anne-Marie to get this out to you all here. And if there's time and space to do so, at the end of today's meeting, I can kind of have this slide up as folks are exiting if they want to scan the QR code, hang around and take the survey on their phone or however we want to do it. But I did want to put that all on your radar, and we are looking for a really broad array of different types of entities to take the survey. So lastly, and this is a big one, I wanted to mention that TCSI is hosting a collaborative convening this spring for all the collaboratives, landscape partnerships, and networks such as Yuba Forest Network in the TCSI region to get together, discuss successes and challenges, share ideas and tools, and overall talk through a shared vision of the landscape. So I'm excited to hear that some partners of North Yuba Forest Partnership are here. I have talked with Kat Perlman about this, and we're excited about the opportunity to get, North Yuba Forest Partnership and Yuba Forest Network and the Middle Truckee River Watershed Forest Partnership and, some of the partnerships down in the El Dorado, get us all in one room and provide a space for partners within these collaboratives and networks to kind of talk through topics like, strategic planning for funding, like sustainable funding, fiscal coordination, collaborative governance, capacity needs, how to share success, etc. So we are still in the planning stages of this event, but we do have a save the date out there. It's scheduled for April 18th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're still working on securing the venue, but it is most likely going to be in Auburn, California. Rosie, I did the same thing, Auburn, California. And we will be providing lunch and coffee and all of that. So definitely save the date. We'll be sending out an actual official RSVP registration form within the next few weeks here. But something I did want to, pose outwardly to everyone here in this call is that we really want to make this event valuable for folks. And so after my presentation, if we have a little bit of time for some Q&A, I'm definitely here to accept Q&A questions, but I also want to pose the question back to you all. If folks did want to attend on behalf of a collaborative or landscape partnership in the TCSI region, what sort of topics would you be most interested in? What would you want to hear from other partners? And what would make this event more valuable? So once we have time for Q&A, I'll be posing that question. So kind of keep it in your brain for now. And I'm going to post all these things in the chat as well for folks who are online. So lastly, just to kind of wrap it up here, I just wanted to highlight some future engagement opportunities with TCSI, just so that we can all keep thinking about it. So, one, contributing data to the Tahoe Central Sierra Project Tracker. We really want, again, we want this to be a useful, free data management tool for folks. So the more data we can have on there, the better. And we're going to, we're working hard to figure out where data already is so that efforts aren't duplicative. Two, also participating in that Project Tracker focus group if you want to help shape how the tracker could be more useful for you as a user. Definitely reach out to Ray if that's something that you're interested in. She's here in this meeting. Three, participate in other potential advisory committees. TCSI is prioritizing, working with other more local place-based entities. And so this year, we're going to be strategizing ways to kind of have more input and listening sessions and those things. I just wanted to throw that out there. Nothing's planned yet, but it is in the works. Fill out the capacity survey. Again, chance to win free tickets. And TCSI is going to use this information to get a better understanding of where it can provide value at a local level. Attend the collaborative convening April 18th, 10 to 2, free lunch, free coffee. It'll be a ton of fun. We'll probably have an informal happy hour after as well. Sign up for TCSI's quarterly newsletter. Once a quarter, we send out a newsletter that highlights local projects, provides updates on TCSI's science, publications, our priorities, etc. And I'll put that in the chat as well. And then also invite TCSI to learn about your work. Like I mentioned, over the past 8 months or so, we've been trying to meet with as many organizations as we can to learn about their work and kind of brainstorm with them how TCSI can provide value. So if you haven't been on our radar, we want to get you on our radar, and feel free to reach out to me as the outreach associate, and we'd love to meet with you. And so that's all I have today. I just wanted to thank Anne-Marie for providing the space for this, and for all of you for listening so attentively. So yeah, I'll go ahead and stop there. If we have time for Q&A, we can definitely do that. And also, after folks are done asking their questions, I can kind of pose the question again of this collaborative community. So I'll go ahead and stop talking for a sec.
Awesome. Amanda, that was really great. Thank you so much for presenting and giving the Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative. I do want to say that survey is incredibly well designed and has some fantastic questions, and I highly recommend taking it because I was blown away when I took it a few days ago. So congratulations on that, Amanda. So yeah, does anyone have any questions for Amanda about TCSI, their programs, their future opportunities, or input to their collaborative committees?
Yeah, I guess I've got a question just more about the project tracker, and where you're pulling that information from and making sure that it's, getting everything, and because it seems like there's several different project trackers out there, and just wanted to learn a little more about that.
Yeah, so I'll provide what I know, and then Ray is also here. So Ray, at any point, feel free to jump in and provide extra detail. But yeah, so for data collection, as far as I know it, right now in these early development stages, TCSI is kind of identifying what those other, all those other trackers, what kind of data they have, and how it can fit into TCSI. And the contractor who's actually developing the tracker, their name is Environmental Science Associates, and they created a couple of the other trackers in the region. So they created the Lake Tahoe Basin Environmental Improvement Program tracker, and they also created California Association of RCDs, kind of RCD tracker. And so the goal is, with at least the trackers that they've created, that it'll be automatic crosstalk, that whatever data is already in the trackers that they have, that it'll crosstalk with TCSI's tracker. And then there's all these other data sources like the FACTS database through the Forest Service, and CAL FIRE has a database for all the projects that they've funded through the state. And Ray, is there anything else that I'm missing in terms of what other, besides getting direct data from folks individually, what other trackers TCSI's tracker will communicate with?
So I'll already say now that, so we're just starting the configuration now, which we haven't inputted any data, but we're trying to figure out right now what would be best. And then in March and April, we're going to put in real world data to see how the configuration works with real project data. I'm going to be collecting through facts and things like that, and external places that there's already data sets and things like that. There are a couple things that I will have to discuss with landowners, in particular, for example, the Colfax Consolidated Tribe, they don't have GIS people, so I will go in and kind of be their GIS person to get their data. And sometimes land trusts have kind of secret data, so we're trying to work with them to keep it private, but also try to do more of a forecasted. That's what our big push for the TCSI project tracker is. We found a lot of funders want to know where forecasted projects for the next 10 years are going to be, and where that funding need is, and what lands are adjacent to those even forecasted. So it's going to be a lot of collection on my part. And then when it gets down to more detailed forecasted data, then I'll be reaching out to partners that me and Amanda have already worked with and things like that. I've done it before with the Forest Service already with our implementation plan, but this is going to be the first time working with other regional partners. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about TCSI? Great. So I guess I just wanted to pose question for the group about this collaborative convening. I'm going to bring the slide back up on if any folks, just initially coming to mind would want to attend as part of Yuba Forest Network or other collaboratives that you're part of in the region, and kind of, network with other collaboratives. And if so, if they're just off the top of your mind, if there's any, topics or agenda items that would be most interesting and most valuable to you.
Yeah, I definitely would like to attend and see what can be talked about for private landowners to get information on how to get assistance to get work done on their land. There's many different places to go, and sometimes it only takes a little bit for them to do a lot.
Yep, that's a great one. And will you remind me where your name and who you're with?
Evan Smith, Natural Resources Conservation Service, and we
Great.
cover out of Grass Valley office, Nevada County.
Okay, great. Great, thanks so much. That's really great input.
Yeah, I can connect the two of you after this meeting as well.
Perfect. And Anne-Marie, once it's ready, I'll be sure to send you the official RSVP registration form, and you can disseminate it to folks however you see fit.
Definitely, yeah. The collaborative convening will be advertised in the newsletter, and I'll turn in those specific email blasts as well for it.
Awesome.
All right.
Great. Well, if there's nothing else.
Anyone online have any questions or comments? All right.
Great. Thanks.
Presenting Amanda.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks so much. And yeah, looking forward to listening into the rest of the meeting.
Fantastic. Okay, so we are running a little ahead of schedule, so we're just going to take 5 minutes and go to 10:55 of a quick break and everything before we have Carmen present. She's going to be presenting on Yuba College's new career technical. Oh my gosh, what was CTE stand for again? There we go. The education certifications that Yuba College is offering. So we'll have that after the break.
What was your name again?
Melissa.
Anne-Marie?
Hey, Carmen, sorry. How can I help you out?
Hi. You promised you would help me with sharing my screen. I just want to make sure that it works because I haven't used the Teams before.
Definitely. I'll be here to walk you through it.
I had no sound at the beginning and I was officially flipping out here because I couldn't figure out my sound settings, and finally anyway, it was my computer. It shifts the sound settings now and then. All right, here we are. So if I want to share my screen, I'm going to use the share button, and I want content only. And let's see, include computer sound. And I need to choose a screen. Okay, that's the one. All right, so now you can see my screen. It works, yes?
Yes, I can see your screen right here. There's also an option to, if you go to share, you can do a PowerPoint live situation as well. If but sharing screen also works too.
All right, so let me put my PowerPoint on the other screen then. I'm going to do that. Thank you. I mean, I figure it should be simple, but I don't want to be fumbling when I have to start. All right, thanks.
I feel that. I always try to take some time to do some, prep for these kinds of meetings because each kind of software is a little different and it's like, I'm not sure.
All right, let me see. Okay, I have to see. Oops. Let me escape this. Okay, maybe I'll leave it on this screen then. All right, thank you. That is all. I just wanted to make sure that it worked. All right.
Great, perfect. We'll have you present in just a couple of minutes.
No problem. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let me see.
courses, so there's not a whole lot of management we can do, especially close to that's a class
Alright,
2.
Let's get started with our next
But
presentation.
you know, growing trees in general is what we like to see.
Yeah.
So for sure.
This is going to be from Carmen Bowen. So I just introduced her right before the break. So Carmen, are you all ready to present?
Yes, I am.
Awesome, great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carmen Bowen, and I teach geosciences. And I just added a couple of GIS courses to my my workload at Yuba College. Thrilled to be here and share with you some of our newest accomplishments. We have created some new programs, CTE programs, Career Technical Education programs. And for those of you who don't know, I need to give you a little bit of background. A couple of years ago, I don't know exactly the date, Dean Bagley can attest to that, he can provide more details. Yuba Water Agency made a generous offer to Yuba College with a specific purpose to create some new certificates that will meet the needs of our students. And these certificates were supposed to be in the natural resources realm. With that said, I began creating these certificates in August 2022. We submitted the proposals by mid-December, by the end of the semester, the fall semester in 2022. And 3 certificates were approved fully, and they're ready to go. Approved in October 2023. So I'd like to share a screen with you now and introduce to you our 3 approved new certificates and another certificate that is it's currently being developed by our colleague Professor Dale Fogelsang. So let me see my screen share here. Okay, let me bring my slides. Let me see. One moment. Let me try again. I will do just a screen share. That's better. So everybody, can you all see my screen now? All
Yes,
right.
we can see your screen.
All right. So I'd like to begin with a 2-minute video. Are you ready for that? All right, let's, whether you are or not, I will let the video run anyway.
Oh, Carmen, I think it might be on a different screen of yours.
I'm sorry?
I think the video might be on a different screen.
Oh, I see. Hang on. Hang on. I knew I was doing something wrong here. Let me see if I can bring, hang on.
So that I might be able to do that on my end too if you need help.
Sorry. I'm going to share my screen again. And I will share my other screen. I apologize. Share. Okay. Let me stop share and I'll try to share my other screen. So it is the screen on the right. I have 2 screens, that's why I'm getting confused here. So I think it's this screen that will be, okay. So now, let me try again. And I apologize.
This looks good, yeah. Oh, please don't worry.
All right.
It is hard.
So let me see. Okay, so now I can share my screen. Everything is fine now, yes?
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the video, but we'll.
So
we
I
shared the
will
link.
give you a short video. So our 3 new programs that have been approved recently in October 2023 are a Field Technician Watershed Management Certificate, 16 units. So this certificate, the students need to complete some basic courses, an ecology course, an intro to GIS course, a study design and field methods course, a water resources and conservation course, and an intro to WebGIS application course where students use to do field work, how to use field applications to collect data, whether it's, we use S3 products, so and ArcGIS Online for this course. And they have some electives, work experience, and a lab, ecology lab. So that's the Watershed Field Technician certificate. We have a Soil Conservation certificate with similar courses. The difference between these courses is a specialty course. So these students will be taking soils course with all other coursework being the same as the previous one. And we also have a GIS certificate. And we have already taught a pilot course in the fall of 2023. That was this course, Geography 13, Intro to WebGIS Applications. And I was excited that the course was very well received. So the GIS certificate has an Intro to GIS course, a spatial analysis course, a cartographic design course, the WebGIS course, which uses ArcGIS Online. All others will be using ArcGIS Pro, and database course. And as electives, unfortunately, our internship, this particular course was canceled at our college, and we'll have to design a new one because I think students need work experience for GIS. So we will be designing a different course and offer it as an elective to our students, and also a Python programming course for ArcGIS. Now, a 4th program is in the works right now, and this will be Forest Management and Fire Suppression Certificate with a number of forestry courses. That would be Intro to Forestry. That's a proposed course. Students will also take an Intro to GIS course as a required course using, again, ArcGIS Online. So these students will be able to collect data in the field, to put data on a map, create simple maps, have that spatial awareness, be able to retrieve and interpret the data and all that. So they will have all these skills and be equipped to perform field work using GIS capabilities. So these are the proposed courses for the forestry program. Fire prevention technology, basic well and firefighter course, fire responder course, and all that. And some electives, the work experience, ecology lab. It should be intro to GIS, not, that would be the intro to GIS as an elective. The WebGIS is a required course. Oh, I'm sorry. So I was supposed to make a change. I discussed this with Professor Fogelsang. So I need to swap Geography 13 as a required course and bring the Geography 10 as an elective. I thought I did that. I did that, but this is the old presentation, sorry. Anyway, So, and these are the slides provided by Professor Fogelsang. He provided some information about each of the proposed courses for the forestry certificate. So what would the forestry course entice? Introduction to forest ecological and biological processes and forest management. The watershed fire prevention focuses on best practices related to fire prevention efforts in the watershed environment. Wildland firefighting, skills and knowledge needed for the entry-level firefighter to recognize hazards in unsafe situations, and so on. So these are 3 approved certificates, a forestry certificate that will be developed in the semester or so. And in a long run, we are aiming to tie these certificates with our existing associate's degrees offered at Yuba College. For example, we had, for many years, we had an environmental science degree where most students who did not have an option, they didn't know exactly what they wanted to do, the counselors would kind of put them on that path to gain all their units for transfer. But now with the city certificates, we could create a pathway for these students to get an environmental degree and maybe move forward to a 4-year college with these degrees. So we don't want students to be stunted and stop at these certificates, but if they want to, they could move forward and get their associate's degree and move to a 4-year college to continue their education. So any questions for us regarding these new programs?
Carmen, what would you like from like the Yuba Forest Network and the people involved in the Yuba Forest Network? Like, how would you like us to be involved in the new CTE programs?
That is a very good question. Our students will need a place to places to get their internships. So we need internships for our students. We need them to be able to get out in the field and get some work experience. And we need organizations such as yours to know about us. And if you need workforce, where else would you find the well-trained people to do the work in the forest field? So we're preparing the workforce for all of you. And we hope to find possible employment to our students. But for a starter, we need internships for our students. We have the Yuba Water Agency offered us full support, but there are only one agency. We're hoping our programs to grow and have a fair number of students, and we will need more organizations to work with us and our students to provide them with that work environment that they so much need.
How long has this program been going on?
Excuse me, would you repeat the question, please?
How long has this program been going? Is it
So we will start the official start will be in the fall 2024. This semester is brand new. The programs have been approved just last October 2023. These are brand new programs. And ideally, these students would spend 2 semesters at quick, they would be able to cover it. They want to, and they could cover all the units in 2 semesters, in and out quickly.
I think Corey has his hand raised.
I just wanted to add a couple of things. So Carmen mentioned a number of degrees. We are looking at the possibility of adding a new degree that would be a little bit have a little bit more utility for the students coming out of this program. As she mentioned, we have been piloting the classes, and she mentioned the official start coming up, but we are running classes right now, and we're getting we're excited to get more students than we thought. So out of the gate, we weren't expecting to get as much of a response from this, but there's on the order of like 60 students that have signed up for the various certificates. So we expected it to take a while to get off the ground, and it seems like it's it's taking off well, faster than we expected. So that's a really good thing. The other thing I want to add is we also may need instructors. So in some of these courses, Carmen and I were sort of the traditional academic. My background is geology. Carmen has gone on and got a certification in GIS, and so that helps a lot. But we're not the professionals in the field like you are. And in terms of teaching these courses, the requirement is actually not a master's degree. It's I think it's an associate's degree with 6 years of experience, or a bachelor's degree and 2 years of experience. And so we will probably be reaching out to this network about the opportunity to teach classes. These classes, in most cases, would be remote classes, so you would teach online. There wouldn't be any requirement to come to Yuba College other than maybe to occasional meetings or something like that. And I guess the last part is we're just really excited to be part of this group. And I started teaching a water class, water resources and conservation, which I've been preparing for the last few years. And I only have 7 students in the class, which again is a little bit small, especially based on the numbers. But all of the students that I'm speaking to are just very interested in the environment and jobs in the area. It's a completely different student that I'm used to. I've spent most of my career teaching science to non-science majors, and it's really exciting to work with a group of students that are fired up about getting jobs and really interested in this area. And so it's like a paradigm shift for me, and it's quite exciting.
I have a question. When do you anticipate the forest management and fire suppression certificate getting approved?
I don't have the answer to that, but if Dean Bagley is still around, he might have an answer for us. So the approval process itself takes about a year from the moment you submit all the paperwork. It takes some time. There are several layers of approval. So I know that Professor Fogelsang is working on this program right now. So assuming that he'll be done with that by the end of this semester, maybe next year, summer next year, 2025.
I just have one recommendation. I had served on the advisory board for these programs, and we had talked about in the Intro to Forestry course doing tree species identification. Do you know if that's still part of that course proposal?
So the courses that we have right now, I know that let me see. I don't see, that would be the dendrology course. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Like,
we talked about dendrology, or at least,
yeah. So there is,
or at least doing some tree species identification in the Intro to Forestry course.
There is an Intro to Forestry course. That would be the one forestry course, and maybe, some units could be embedded in that course. Some units, 1 or 2 units about tree identification or something like that. But I don't see,
that's what I was encouraging is in that intro to forestry course, making sure that that's a focus for
Absolutely.
at least a lecture or two.
The person who will teach that course will be one of you guys, someone who's a specialist in the field. And you can design this course in any way you see fit. I mean, whatever you think those students should know to make it out, just to be successful in the field, that's what you need to put in that course. There's no red tape, or, you don't have to, you have full freedom to create the course in any way you see fit. And I'm sure, I'm hoping that one of you would want to work for us. Very soon we'll advertise the GIS positions. I discussed this with Dean Bagley just a couple of days ago, said we need to have someone to teach 2 GIS courses. That would be spatial analysis and cartographic design. And if any one of you is a GIS specialist, please apply. And we can sit together and I could explain to you what students will learn in the intro to GIS course, so they will be prepared to move on to the next one, spatial analysis. We will work together to create a solid program and our students will be well prepared for the field work and all that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carmen.
You're welcome.
Do we have any additional follow-up questions for her about the new CTE programs or about the internships and internship locations she's seeking?
I will leave my email address in the chat, and if you think you could help us in any way with internships, or please email us. We hope. I mean, if not you, then who, right? So I will put my email address in the chat. And yes.
So that email address will be the point of contact for any opportunities for like internships or something like that. I just meaning that I know for USDA and RCS we do have potential like internships and whatnot. But I'm not the one dealing with specifically with that. We'll be sending out to our state office, and I know last year they were trying to get more where exactly they can publicize potential internships in the near future. So if that's the email, then we're good. If not, then hopefully, and you can give me more information how exactly what would be a point of contact for, so in case when those potential internships gets published, they can be sent out to Yuba College.
Right. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Diego. All right. I think with that, we're going to pivot and switch gears to have Nevada County OES, so Alessandra and Alex, start their own presentation too.
It's going to be they can participate online just by dropping the stuff in the chat. But
great. Which one is it? Risk reduction? Last one? YFNCWPP?
Yeah.
Or 6 more. Sick. Yeah. Okay. Is that how you want to visualize it, or should we do a different view? Yes, let's see here. Slightly better. I don't know why they got moved around.
Do we need to then control it from there to advance?
This here.
So I'm gonna turn off.
Nope, it looks like you can control it from down here.
I don't know why I had that on.
No, I don't. It's a little interesting with the hybrid thing.
Well, because we have to facilitate after, so we're gonna have to start standing.
Alrighty, so we're here to talk to you about the Nevada County Plan update. We have been on this path of updating our CWPP for about the last year and a half. It's funded by a CWDG grant that we received. And essentially, the overall goal of this is to create a community-based roadmap for wildfire mitigation and resilience projects. So I'm Alex Toll. I'm a senior analyst in the Office of Emergency Services. My colleague Alessandra is our county wildfire coordinator, and we've been leading this effort. And essentially, our community wildfire protection plan is part of what we're calling our roadmap to resilience. We're really fortunate to have multiple strategic planning efforts underway at the county right now in a contiguous fashion. We start with our 20,000 foot local hazard mitigation plan, which is basically an all hazards mitigation plan for the county that looks at where hazards are, what's the likelihood that they're going to occur. If they occur, what's the percentage of area that they're going to cover, those different elements. Then if we zoom into wildfire, our community wildfire protection plan is that wildfire component of the local hazard mitigation plan. And it also has a land management plan component. So the CWPP is basically intended to identify where projects should take place. And if that's the where, then the land management plan is the how. And the idea is that the land management plan will provide essentially like a toolbox of locally vetted best practices for the types of treatment, the return intervals of treatment, those types of things that are appropriate in different ecosystems that we see across Nevada County, so that we're really creating this overall contiguous approach with here's where the work needs to be done, and then based on best practices, here's how it should be done. And then if we zoom in a little bit more, we have our evacuation study. We are actually wrapping that up right now. So obviously that digs into the specific component of evacuation. We did a countywide modeling effort to identify areas across the county that were most likely to be impacted by evacuation constraints. And then we also did a lot of community outreach to really get that place-based feedback from individuals, fire-wise communities about what they saw their evacuation opportunities and constraints were, so that we could address the issue at multiple scales. So what is the CWPP? It basically came out of the Healthy Forest Restoration Act. The idea is to create this community plan for wildfire mitigation and to really prioritize areas that projects should take place and to be really versatile in that approach, so that you're recognizing community values and then also where we're seeing hazard fall in the landscape. The requirements are regional collaboration, that you're going to identify and prioritize areas for mitigation, and that you're going to identify strategies for reducing structural ignitability. And then having best management practices is a recommendation, though not a requirement. And so that's why we have that land management plan component of this, so that we can really identify BMPs for the process. What a CWPP is and is not, we've been really trying to make sure that the community understands. So the CWPP is not going to create rules or laws. It's not going to influence fire insurance. It's not a CEQA document, although you can potentially create a CEQA document that goes with a CWPP, so you're creating a shovel-ready process. We're not doing that, but that is an option. And it doesn't mandate what should or should not be done. Really, it's meant to be this collaborative planning document. And you you're really trying to look at multiple scales of both hazard and risk. So looking at the landscape based on climate, topography, and fuel, where is that hazard? And then layering that with what as a community is important to us to not lose in the face of wildfire. And so where are those areas for risk and what's the nexus between the two? We are working with a consulting firm. So Alessandra and I have been leading the effort up until now, but we have a consultant, Dudek, that we brought on who's basically going to take it across the finish line in terms of preparing the document itself and supporting our community risk mitigation workshops that we've had underway the last month. So where are we in the process? We started outreach over a year ago, and essentially, we met with leaders of many different NGOs, agencies, other groups working in kind of the forest health wildfire mitigation space across the county to get a sense of where are the priorities, what projects are underway, what do folks feel like is not being addressed, where are those gaps, and how can we fill them? We did a wildfire hazard assessment. We did that in-house, really so that we could be sure that we were grounding the analysis in place-based expertise. We worked really closely with CAL FIRE in terms of identifying things like, are the appropriate raw stations being used for the data inputs? Really being very careful to calibrate the entire modeling process to what actually is happening in Nevada County. We then did value prioritization. So we reached out into the community and internally as technical expert teams to identify, okay, what are categories of high value resources and assets that are at risk and how can we prioritize those? Then we did the wildfire risk assessment, which pulls together those two different components. Alessandra is going to talk about that. And right now we're in this community workshop phase. So how many workshops have we done this month? I think we're at like 12, seven. Yeah, okay, we're going to 12. Yeah. So we've been doing in-person and virtual workshops by forecast zones, and Alessandra's going to talk about our forecast zones, but really the idea there is to divide the county into areas that are responsive not just to the hazard that we see on the landscape, but where communities are and where those community values are nested on the landscape. Community input is critical to this process, right? This is a document that is by the community for the community. We're really trying to help establish community concerns and priorities because it's not just about where is fire likely to occur on the landscape and be, really egregious, but what do we feel like we don't want to lose? And so that's why getting the input from the community is so important. We did a public survey that ran June through August, and we got 2,200 responses, which is about 2% of Nevada County's population, which was awesome. We've done these workshops this month, and we'll be wrapping up. Well, I guess we're now in February, technically. We'll be wrapping up workshops in the next couple of weeks. And then once the CWPP document itself is drafted, that will be available for public comment as well, and we'll be looking to finalize that at the end of this year.
All right. So we're going to just go through what we did for the wildfire risk assessment. This is really just like a brief overview. If you're interested in learning more on like the nitty gritty detail side, we're doing 3 separate virtual office hours diving into each component of that assessment that leads to the results we're going to briefly talk about today. So one of the things that we always start with and we always are really transparent about is the difference between hazard and risk and why we have to look at both. And so when we talk about wildfire hazard, we're really only talking about the combination of fuel, topography, and climate, because those are the 3 factors that drive fire behavior. So really we use this to understand the environment that's around us. Versus when we talk about wildfire risk, we still look at that hazard piece, but then we ask ourselves, well, how likely is that fire to actually happen? And then if it did happen, what type of vulnerability are we facing from it? What's the impact going to be? So the hazard gives us a picture of the environment or those baseline conditions around us. And the risk helps us figure out what we need to be protecting, but ultimately it's informed by what we care about. So we did a wildfire risk assessment that was comprised of the hazard assessment and the risk assessment. So creating those baseline conditions and then essentially seeing what our vulnerabilities are in Nevada County. And we did it in-house because we wanted to make sure it was specific to Nevada County's challenges, because we just recognize that there's a lot of things that we face as a community in the rural Sierra Nevadas that you don't necessarily see in other places. A big component too, as Alex said, was the differing scales. So our assessment really focuses on that landscape scale, and the community workshops are helping us at that community scale. Ultimately, this will help us determine where future projects and grant priorities should be on our landscape. And really the goal is to find areas where we can reduce our hazardous fuel load, but simultaneously also reduce our risk by protecting things that we value as a community. So we divided the county into the 4 forecast zones, and part of the reason was we need to be able to isolate areas of our county that have vast difference in terms of fire environment for that modeling component. But we also modified these boundaries because if we followed fire environment alone, it completely ignores community networks, and that doesn't really work when we're talking about wildfire risk. So we changed the boundaries in certain areas to capture community groups in ways that made more sense instead of fracturing community networks. And a big component was really calling out what are the things we don't want to lose from fire. And so we developed a list of our HVRAs. We then ran a survey that basically polled the public of what do you care about most. The 4 categories that we asked them about were community lifelines, which is communities themselves and their necessary infrastructure to survive. Community health, which focuses on secondary impacts from fire, such as areas that may be more vulnerable to a post-fire debris flow. 3rd was natural resources, and then 4th was economic resources, just recognizing that that's a huge role in terms of recovery. And so we completed the wildfire risk assessment in December with our technical advisory committee, which is CAL FIRE, our local district chiefs, and other fire experts in our area. And we did 32 different risk assessments across our county. And really what we learned is our particular community is really vulnerable to fire because most of our resources and assets are really intertwined. They don't just serve singular purposes, which makes it difficult to think about how you can separate those out. And then it also really gives insight as to why it's been so challenging for us to recover from relatively small fires as you compare to fires in communities around us. The other thing we learned is that you really can't isolate economic resources like we originally intended to, because in Nevada County, our economy is driven by tourism that is designed to access outdoor recreation. So the reality is our environment is our greatest economic resource as well. And then it really drove home that any type of risk reduction activity has to be multi-beneficial. We got to move beyond life and property if we're serious about doing more than just building back and truly living here and being resilient to fire. So we started looking at the places in our county that were most vulnerable to community lifelines, and then where that intersected with opportunities around community health, and then finally opportunities for natural resources, because our goal was to find where we had the greatest overlap in risk, because then you technically also have the greatest overlap in opportunity. So we used another analysis, because why not keep going, called the project priority areas, where we basically sought to identify where multi-beneficial wildfire risk reduction opportunities could happen based off where that overlap in that greatest risk was occurring. It does focus on that landscape scale. That was the purpose of this assessment. The community's helping us fill in those gaps. And really, because the other piece we wanted to do with this was create greater diversity in the types of projects you could call out under a CWPP. So it's not just roadside veg treatment or shaded field breaks. It could be things like forest health, restoration, watershed focus, so that we could also increase participation in who uses this document. So it's not just fire agencies or OES or the county using this for this type of work, because we can't do it by ourselves. And really, we looked to find the places that intersected the 3 goals, as I mentioned: hazard, risk, and community priority. What we learned from the community is that overwhelmingly the most important thing to them was community lifelines, which made sense, followed by community health and then natural resources. So given the information from the assessments, from our goals, we came up with our project priority areas. And this is the map of the 2 types of project priority areas we identified across the county. These are geographically delineated areas for risk reduction opportunities. They basically are divided into highest and high. Highest being where you have intersection between the top 3 categories that the public identified, and then high being just community lifelines and community health. And really, like I said, it's that landscape perspective on where we could have contiguous work happening. Our goal was to provide as much space as we possibly could. Our goal is not to call out what should be done over another item. Just really, we want to give people room to develop projects that make sense to them. And so we're pretty excited about this. The other piece is we wanted to know, well, how we should do a gut check ourselves. How good are we doing? So we overlaid the projects we already have planned prior to creating this analysis with the results from this analysis. I would say this is a pretty good gut check. We've done a pretty good job, but we can see where we need to go. And that's really what we're excited to do. With the CWPP, we will be developing a dashboard that will basically digitize this information so that you can see exactly this. And if you were somebody who maybe had an interest in Greenhorn Creek, you could see it's a high priority. It's a gap right there. Why not work on developing a project in that area? So making it even easier for the public to utilize this information so they don't have to dig through our 1,000-page document if they don't want to. So we have a couple of activities. I don't think we'll be able to get to all of them, but the first one is the one we're really wanting to focus on. Part of the workshops is we've been asking the publics from the perspective of those forecast zones to tell us what type of risk reduction work they want to see in their communities and what type of treatments are acceptable to them. Would you mind getting your pen and paper so we can record? So we are going to turn to you guys to ask the same things. We'll look at a forecast zone, and for those of you online, just drop your votes in the chat. And then we'll basically record from this land management perspective as people who work on this landscape, you know, how close is the public kind of hitting to what we see or vice versa in terms of acceptable treatment type and treatment design. So we'll show you. So basically these are the two things we'll be asking for each forecast zone. You get a maximum of 3 votes. If you're like super diehard green waste disposal and you want to allocate all 3 of your votes to green waste, you can just let us know that it's like a 3 vote for 1 category kind of thing. And we'll be providing this information to our consultants to help develop community specific action plans that call out this information. Alrighty. Sorry, I lost it now. So the first one is Higgins Penn Valley. So this is roughly kind of the Penn Valley area, Rough and Ready, Alta Sierra, and then down to sort of Lake of the Pines. So what do you guys feel in terms of risk reduction methods are the 3 most important to see in this area? We have your options are roadside vegetation clearance, fuels reduction on public land, shaded fuel breaks, invasive plant removal, green waste disposal, evac route improvement, home hardening, public education, and then other. For your options other, please tell me what your other is. So for who feels like one of the highest priorities should be roadside vegetation clearance? All right, coming up nil. Second, fuels reduction on public lands for this area. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for fuels reduction on public land. Shaded fuel breaks. 1, 2, 3.
Choose more than one.
You got 3
have up to
votes.
3
Oh,
votes.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was reading ahead. Sorry.
And then I have another point for fuels reduction and shaded fuel breaks, Alex. Yeah. Sorry. And then yes, invasive plant removal. Four.
How bad is it?
Depends where you are.
Yeah.
And then chat, we have another shaded fuel break point, fuel reduction on public land point, and then we have our first other. Other is private land.
Then Carrie just said some votes
Yep.
too.
And then we have another point for fuels reduction on public lands, and then evac route improvement. And a second to Julie's other for private land. Okay. Third for private land. All right, so green waste disposal. Got 1 for green waste. Okay. And then, home hardening. And a fourth for private land. And then home hardening.
Yeah.
To public education. 5 for public education.
I don't know how many votes I can get.
Penn Valley. All right. So same zone. Okay, so same zone, we'll do vegetation management techniques. So your options are prescribed fire, mechanical equipment / any sort of mechanical treatment, hand treatments, herbicides, grazing, and then of course, other. All right, so we'll start off prescribed fire. 6, 7 for prescribed fire. Mechanical treatment. 3. Another prescribed fire. Julie, to your question, you're prioritized 3. Hand treatment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 for hand. Another for mechanical and hand. Herbicide. And another one for prescribed fire. Grazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 for grazing. All right. So next forecast zone is Grass Valley, Nevada City. So thinking about Grass Valley, Nevada City, what is how many votes for roadside veg clearance? 1, 2, 3. I think we have a question. Dwayne, do you want to ask your question before we keep voting?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. All right, sorry. Can I get hands again for roadside veg clearing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Alex.
I'm ready.
4 for roadside veg for Grass Valley, Nevada City. Fuels reduction on public land. 3.
Another hand from Rosie?
Yeah.
Or she went away.
It's hard to keep track of the online ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do in person and then go to chat for votes. So chat, you can keep dropping them in there. I'm keeping an eye on them. I'll call them out in just a minute. Shaded field breaks. 4. Invasive plant removal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Add one more to that.
6. Green waste disposal. 2.
Oh, wait, I'm here too.
3. Evac route improvement. Home hardening. 2. And public education. 1. Okay, so we'll do chat tallies. So we have another vote for shaded field breaks, fuels reduction on private land, and then also our public land as well, public and private, both were true. Sorry. And then we have another vote for fuels reduction on public land, private land, and shaded field breaks. All right. Oh, I think it froze.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, okay. It seems to, okay. I don't know, technology. All right, treatment methods, prescribed fire.
What's your
Grass Valley, Nevada City. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mechanical treatment. 4. Hand treatment. 7. Herbicide. 1. Grazing. 3. Other. All right. Chat tally is 2 more for prescribed fire.
I'm gonna get all that Scotch.
1
brew.
more for hand treatment. Another 3 more for mechanical treatment. 1 more for grazing, and then actually another 1 and 1 for prescribed fire and hand.
Some of these categories kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Okay, are these just like, if you were just do one treatment individually, what's the priority?
So mostly it's focusing on gauging the public's tolerance for these types of treatments. So we understand they're hand in hand, but for them, it's very black and white.
Okay.
It's all or nothing. So.
Me, I would vote for pretty much all. I mean, limit the free votes. But there's situations where it's like, that's a field of Scotch broom, you probably need to spray that versus other spots where it's like, you know, you could do some grazing or something like that. So, but you know, I don't want prescribed fire between houses in town. So
No, and it's really true. And that's part of the thing is what
that's a diverse area between the ridge all the way down through Grass Valley. And,
Sure. And that's why we're so excited about the land management plan, right? Because we're getting our fingers on the pulse of what is the community's tolerance for different treatments. But then we're gonna provide them a document that's based on the best available science of if you're working in this environment, here's what makes sense. You may not have a high tolerance for herbicide, but there are instances where it is the best tool.
Yeah. And so it helps us just inform, like realistically, if we know that, for example, we have to use herbicide in an area like this where the tolerance is really low, we know we're going to have a lot of education that needs to front load that project.
okay, good, cool.
So part of it from doing the workshop with people like us is a pulse check of where are we at versus where the public's at.
Yeah.
You know? All right. Tahoe National Forest, we're going into types, risk reduction methods, and I will try to go a little bit faster. Anne Marie, sorry.
It's okay.
All right, roadside. 2. Fuels reduction on public land. 7. Shaded field breaks. 4. Invasive plants. 1. Green waste. None.
Does that include building a biomass power plant?
Your definition of green waste. You get real specific with other as biomass facility. Okay, so biomass facility as other super specific 2 votes.
Make it 3.
3 votes for biomass facility.
I like that.
4.
I would say.
All right. Evac route improvement. Nothing. Home hardening? No. Public education. 5. Okay. Here are your tallies online. Alex, you got shaded field breaks, field reduction on public land, and field reduction on private land. All right.
We sold them some land for pretty cheap.
That's what I heard.
And
Okay. Go into veg treatment techniques for Tahoe National Forest prescribed fire.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, really? That's what I would have
7 for prescribed fire. I was like, wait a minute. Mechanical treatment. 6. Hand treatment. 7. Herbicide. Nothing. Grazing. 1. Other. Okay. All right. 1 more for prescribed mechanical and herbicide. Alrighty. Oh, and then for Tahoe National Forest, we have another vote for, oh no, sorry, this is next person. My bad. Okay, Truckee Donner area, roadside veg. No. Fuels reduction on public land. 7. Shaded fuel breaks. 5. Invasive plant removal. None. Green waste disposal. 3. Evac route improvement. 1. Home hardening. Nothing. Public education. 5. Other. No other. Okay. And then coming in from chat, 2 more for shaded fuel breaks, 2 more for public lands, 2 more for private land. And then, yeah, it's in our other category.
Other category.
And then I'm going to go ahead and say there's 2 for prescribed fire preferential treatment. Okay, moving into treatments, prescribed fire. 7. 7 plus the 2 online. Mechanical. 5. Hand. 7. Herbicide. None. Grazing. 2. Other. None. And then we have another vote for mechanical, hand, and grazing. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys' time. We will be doing a similar workshop at our quarterly wildfire stakeholder meeting, but we're going to dive into some of these topics more in depth and get more of that land manager perspective on sort of like the realities behind this. We'll also have a mapping opportunity where you can call out some of these things on maps and a discussion around how do we plan for things like recovery. So if you're interested in doing more, this is sort of like the light version. Join us at quarterly wildfire stakeholder meeting in March, which we'll have that all firmed up in a couple weeks. So
yeah. And that'll be a really cool meeting for folks who haven't attended before. We're going to have Steve Braden do a 7-table demonstration looking at different treatments in the Deer Creek watershed and kind of what the impacts of those would be on mitigating a wildfire risk. So it'll be a pretty interactive.
Do you know what town you guys are doing it in?
it's going to be at the government center.
Oh,
So we'll
okay.
be down here and we'll be in board chambers. So we kind of fun. We will not freeze in the vets hall this time. We'll freeze next December in the vets hall. Sorry, advance notice. So, all right. Well, thanks so much, Anne-Marie.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this workshop, like presentation and everything. This is really great to see. So we just have a couple of minutes to sum up real quick. Thanks to both like Amanda and Carmen, as well as Alessandra and Alex for their presentations today. I think I will be including all of their contact information in a follow-up email. So if you have any additional questions, comments, you want to become an instructor for a GIS course, we'll send out that information. Let me see here. So check my notes. So just so everyone is aware, let me see here. Oh yeah, I have the newsletter. The next newsletter will go out in March for March and April. So if you have any news items that you would like to be advertised on that, please send them my way. We also have, let me see here, the stakeholder mapping tool. I'm in the middle of updating that at the moment. If you're not aware of it, it's like just on the website here. Sorry, I'm not going to do a screen share at the moment, just in the interest of time, but it's this sort of map that has all of like YFN's projects and everything. So please send over your shape files, or if you have projects that need the status needs to be updated, send me those updates so I can add that to the map and change projects from planning to active or active to completed. Just let me know. Also, just want everyone to be aware that at this moment, YFN has 2 more meetings before we no longer have funding. So we have a meeting in May and a meeting in August. And after that, we have a bit of a question mark for how the organization is going to proceed. So if you have any input or interest on or insight into how YFN should move going forward, please email me, let me know. It would be great to get some feedback. And with that feedback request, I actually have a couple of surveys as well. So in addition to Amanda's surveys for TCSI, I have a survey that's just a follow-up one for meeting participants. Let me know how this meeting went, what you think, how you'd like to see it change in the future, or if you like it at its current format. And then I also have an additional YFN overall satisfaction survey. So if you don't mind taking the time to do both of those surveys, shouldn't be more than 5 minutes a piece. So just please take the time. I'll send those out and include those in the chat as well. All right, sorry, I know that's a bit of a whirlwind for a quick update. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the meeting so far?
Where does the YFN funding come from right now?
Right now it's from the Catalyst Fund, which is from the National Landscape Stewardship network. That's like a big national wide one. So we had 2 years of funding to go with that. And with that funding, we used it to facilitate the quarterly meetings as well as maintain the stakeholder mapping tool and try to do some project direction. But with how things have changed within the Yuba Forest Network, kind of footprint area, we were trying to figure out what will be the next steps.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I have QR codes for all of those surveys up here. If anyone would like to scan them and include them on tabs on their phones. This is the one for TCSI, and then these are the 2 for the Yuba Forest Network. I'll also send links in the chat too, and then I'll send them as well as part of that follow-up email. So yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Cool. Any questions? Thanks. Thank you all so much for coming out here. Oh, sorry. Chat. Sorry, did I have someone online say anything, or are we all good?
What's your, these are all, cultural resources, arc sites. How are you guys going to address that?
So right
Thanks,
now
Anne Marie.
Sure thing. Yeah, Amanda, if you would like to put QR code up on the screen, I could also include it in the chat too.
Sure. Yeah, and thanks for passing out a printed version also.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see.
May not be eligible for listing that we can move forward.
Okay.
Having
The other
a
half of my.
I forget what
Oh, can I save it real quick?
Yeah.
surveying landscape. Getting SHPO concurrence, I think is what it's called. So yeah, is that okay?
I wrote the SNC grant that
Oh,
funded the
nice.
planning aspect. I used to work for Sierra Fund.
Yeah.
So I'm super familiar with it.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because when Mark did the original assessment, right, Risley was fine, but they were concerned that Tippy had some cultural.
Yeah.
And a pain in the neck.
And we just got a map back of those areas where
Have you been working?
some of the slopes that have the most severe erosion.
Yeah.
Work on are now there that we are gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do there.
Because that's always an issue for us when we're trying to do things. It's that's usually an arc site, and so we pretty much can't do anything there.
Especially with the hydraulic mines.
Yeah. So that's kind of the framework we're trying to do here is
So it's really
well,
funny.
that framework of how you move through it.
Yeah.
Sort of get these sites treated going forward and it's not these
Small world. Yeah.
Yeah, and the SHPO office is well, they haven't been super thrilled with they're basically wanting for us, our things, they're wanting to not, all of foresters get certified by the state for,
Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by.
They're trying to push towards requiring actual archaeologists to do it, but there's just there aren't that many people.
Yeah, that seems to be the
Cal
bottleneck.
Fire can't even
Just having trouble with this.
their staff, much less people to survey, all these different forest projects and everything.
And get them done on a regular interval too, like Forest Service is contracting a lot of their artwork to Western, I think it is. Another firm, but
Yeah, that's one of the bottlenecks for us oftentimes is, I mean, we get it done and we feel like they're a year behind on their trainings now because they couldn't agree to,